very afraid because it is a matter of when, not if.
According to a report in OK magazine, Prince William plans on stripping both Harry and Meghan of their...
Are reports that Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and their children could be set to lose their royal title.
William's running the show now. While his father battles cancer and tries to hold on to hope for a reunion, the future king's got different plans. Here's what nobody's talking about. Harry just flew across the Atlantic in what looks like a last-ditch effort to save something he can't afford to lose. This isn't about family ties. It's about his Duke title, because without it, everything vanishes. The deals, the access, the relevance, all of it gone overnight. Get this. William's been waiting for this moment. He's watched what happens when you let certain situations slide, and he's not making the mistake. So the question isn't if Harry's losing the title, it's when. And from the looks of it, time's running out fast. But what I'm about to show you next, you're not ready for it. Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Trust me, you'll want to see this. So here's where everything changed. Charles got his cancer diagnosis, and just like that, his whole schedule got wiped clean. We're talking about a man who spent his entire life with every minute planned out.
And Meghan Markle, of their HRH titles, is still using her HRH title despite agreeing.
Each engagement mapped months in advance. Now, treatments, rest, doctor appointments, more treatments. The man had to slow down whether he wanted to or not. The palace tried to keep things looking normal on the outside, but behind those walls, everything was shifting. Now, you'd think this would just be about his health, right? A king dealing with a serious diagnosis, taking time to focus on getting better. But listen, when a king steps back, someone's got to step up. Someone's got to keep the whole operation running. And that someone? William. He's running things while his father deals with this, making decisions, handling palace business, sitting in on meetings Charles would normally lead, basically doing what a future king does when the current king can't. And from what people close to the situation are saying, he's not just filling in, he's taking charge. This isn't some temporary arrangement where he's just keeping the seat warm.
Once again proliferate that Her Montecito Majesty's marriage to permanently furious-looking Prince.
William's actively making calls, setting the tone for how things are going to go. But here's the thing, and this is where it gets complicated. Charles is caught in this impossible spot. He's a father who loves his sons, both of them, no matter what's happened. But he's also the king. He's got responsibilities to the crown, to the institution, to the British people. And those two roles, they don't always line up. Actually, most of the time, they're pulling him in completely opposite directions. Palace insiders say he's torn, going back and forth on how to handle the whole Harry and Meghan situation. One day he's thinking maybe it's time to take action. The next day his fatherly instinct kicks in and he's second-guessing everything. That soft spot for Harry, it remains. Deep down, he's hoping his son will come around, finding some way back to being a family again. He wants to believe there's a path to reconciliation. Maybe if he just gives it more time, things will work themselves out. So what's Charles been doing? Stalling.
Royal drama, family feuds, and Netflix tell-alls. King Charles has done the unthinkable. He stripped Prince Harry.
I know something needs to happen, understands the situation, can't just drift on forever like this, but he can't bring himself to make the tough call. It's that classic dad move, hoping your kid will figure it out, trying to protect them even when they're making a mess of things, even when everyone around you is saying it's time to act. But William, he's not operating on sentiment. He doesn't have that same soft spot his father's got, or at least he's not letting it cloud his judgment. Charles is hoping for reconciliation and family healing, trying to balance being a dad with being a king. William's looking at this completely differently. He's not seeing his little brother who he grew up with. He's focused on the institution, the damage being done to the monarchy's reputation, how all of this reflects on the crown and what it means for the future. And he's decided he's prepared to act, prepared to do what his father's been too conflicted to do. Now let's talk about what happened with Andrew and Sarah Ferguson.
Laughably undeserved Humanitarian of the Year award with meeting the editor of American Vogue.
Because this is where things get interesting, and it's basically the blueprint for what might be coming next. King Charles made a move that shocked a lot of people. He stripped his own brother and sister-in-law of their Duke and Duchess of York titles. And look, this wasn't something he did lightly. We're talking about his brother here. Someone he grew up with, someone who's been part of the family forever. But he did it anyway. Here's the situation. Andrew and Sarah had stepped back from their duties years ago. They weren't out there doing the royal engagements, cutting ribbons, showing up at official events, doing any of the work that comes with being working members of the family. But they were using the titles. Each time they appeared somewhere, the titles came with them. Book deals, Duchess of York right there on the cover. Public appearances, Duke and Duchess of York getting announced. Media coverage, the names were always attached. And here's what made it a problem. Each time they found themselves in some kind of controversy, and there was plenty of it.
Breaking news, guys, and this time the crown isn't just shaking, it's biting back. Word from the streets of Westminster is that the
titles came along. It didn't matter that they weren't working for the crown anymore. In the public's mind, they were connected to the monarchy. So when things went sideways, and they did, it all came back to reflect on the palace. The family name kept getting pulled into situations that had nothing to do with official business. Charles observed this play out for years. He noticed that letting it slide, not taking action, hoping it would just sort itself out, none of that worked. If anything, it made things worse. The connection between their personal controversies and the monarchy just kept getting stronger because the titles were always there, always linking everything back to Buckingham. So he finally did something about it, took the titles away, made it clear that if you're not working for the institution, if you're not representing the crown, then you don't get to keep the benefits that come with it. And palace watchers, they're saying this move opened the door for something bigger.
paused, not suspended, not until further notice. Forever. A final, official message that hits harder than
It set a precedent. It showed that even family doesn't get a free pass when they're creating issues. William was paying close attention to all of this. He saw his father wrestle with the decision, saw him finally pull the trigger, saw what happened afterward, and he learned something important. Sometimes you gotta make the tough call before things spiral completely out of control. The future king witnessed firsthand what happens when you let these situations just keep going. You can believe people will change, think they'll figure it out, assume the controversy will die down on its own. But sometimes it doesn't. It just gets worse. And William's taking notes on all of it. All right, so let's get into the Oprah interview, because that's really where everything started to unravel publicly. Harry and Meghan sat down with Oprah and they didn't hold back. They aired out family grievances on international television, talked about not having support, being isolated, like the institution failed them.
Yes, the actual lawmakers are reportedly preparing to do what the monarchy itself won't. Strip Prince Harry and Meghan.
The whole world was watching, and it was uncomfortable for everyone involved. But here's the thing. That interview, that was just the beginning. It opened the floodgates. Once they started talking, they didn't stop. And then came the book. Harry published Spare, and when I tell you this book revealed stuff that should have stayed private, I mean it. We're talking about private family moments, personal conversations, situations that happened behind closed doors that nobody outside the family had any business knowing. One of the biggest moments in the book was when Harry wrote about a heated argument with William. He got into detail about what was said, the tension between them, the whole situation. And look, siblings fight. That's normal. But most people don't write about it in a book that millions are going to read. Most folks don't put that family business out there for the world to pick apart. And you know what made it worse? Harry went on interview tours to promote the book. Talk shows, media appearances, podcasts, the whole circuit. And in each one, he stood by what he wrote.
It would have to be legal for them to go forward, knowing how much those two, like, it's their favorite hobby.
He wasn't apologetic. He wasn't saying, maybe I went too far, or looking back, I should have handled this differently. Nope. He doubled down, insisted he meant every word, claimed it needed to be told, called this his truth. So now we've got appearance after appearance, all rehashing similar themes: the lack of support, being treated as the spare, difficulties with the institution, problems with his family. It became this cycle where each new appearance was basically covering familiar ground. The details might change a bit, but the core message, that stayed consistent. And here's where it gets really sad. Palace insiders are saying William doesn't even recognize his brother anymore. Like, this isn't the Harry he grew up with. This isn't the guy he shared a childhood with, went through losing their mother with, stood beside at royal events for decades. That person, he's gone. In William's eyes, Harry's become unrecognizable, a person who'd take private family matters and sell them to the highest bidder. A person who'd sit on television and air out grievances instead of handling disputes internally.
Developing today, I can reveal Prince William has in the past fortnight seized control of the British monarchy from a weak...
The relationship between them, it's not just strained, it's shattered. William's not sitting around hoping his brother will come to his senses. He's not waiting for an apology that's probably never coming. Moving on from trying to understand, it seems like where he's at. From his perspective, Harry made his choice when he decided to put all of this out there publicly. And that choice, there's no coming back from it. Now, let's talk about how Meghan entered the picture and how everything shifted after that. Because when you look at Harry before and after he got married, it's like looking at two different people. And I'm not exaggerating here. The transformation was dramatic. Before Meghan, Harry was this charismatic prince that everyone loved. He had natural charm, he'd joke around with the press, appeared genuinely happy in his role. You'd see him at events, and he just had this energy about him, this warmth that people connected with. He was close with William, close with his family.
William was no longer waiting for his father to act. He was preparing to act himself. Sources claim this was the moment,
and he understood how the monarchy worked because he grew up in it. The rules, the expectations, he was comfortable with all of it. Sure, he pushed boundaries sometimes, but it was always in a way that felt authentic to who he was. But after the wedding, something changed. The Harry that the public recognized, the Harry that his family remembered, that guy started to disappear. And here's what people noticed in all those interviews they did together. Harry sat there, pretty quiet for the most part, while Meghan did the talking. She controlled the narrative, guided where the conversation went, made sure her points got across. She criticized how things were done, talked about how difficult everything was for them. And Harry? He nodded along, maybe threw in an awkward laugh here and there, usually at moments that didn't even seem that funny.
The British Parliament, yes, the actual lawmakers, are reportedly preparing to do what the monarchy itself won't. Strip Prince Harry.
Sometimes he'd jump in to back up what she was saying, repeating her points almost word for word. But mostly, he just sat there letting her lead, letting her tell their story the way she wanted it told. It was odd to watch if you'd followed Harry for years. This was a guy who used to be outspoken, confident, comfortable in front of cameras. He'd give these great speeches. He'd connect with people naturally. He had this presence about him. Now, he appeared almost scripted, like he'd rehearsed his lines but wasn't quite sure why he was saying them. Palace insiders started saying they didn't recognize him anymore. And honestly, the public was thinking along those lines too. The comment sections, the forums, the discussions, everyone was asking, what happened to the old Harry? That bond between the brothers? The one that survived their mother's passing, got them through some of the hardest moments of their lives?
In the United Kingdom today, Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, has, for the first time, and he did so reluctantly,
seemed unbreakable for years. It's gone. Severed completely. There's no friendly texts, no casual phone calls, no checking in on each other. And a lot of people point to Meghan as the turning point. Whether that's fair or not, whether she deliberately drove a wedge between them or it just happened as a result of the choices they made together. That's the perception. William saw his brother change, become distant, their relationship fall apart piece by piece. And from everything we're hearing, he blames her influence for a lot of it. He witnessed his brother go from a person he could trust, rely on, to a person he barely recognizes. Now here's where the title situation gets really important. Meghan's built her entire brand around being the Duchess of Sussex. Business deals she tries to make, magazine covers she manages to land, events she shows up to, partnerships she attempts to secure.
Academic, like something tucked away in a museum. But in practice, it's one of the sharpest tools the crown has ever possessed. It's how kings and queens redefine the...
That title's right there. It's her calling card. What gets her in the door to rooms she wouldn't otherwise have access to? What makes publications want to feature her? What makes companies think twice about saying no to a meeting? Without it, she's just an actress who had a moderately successful TV career on a cable network. With it, she's royalty. She's got that connection to one of the most famous families in the world. Remember that jam business she tried to launch? American Riviera Orchard? The one that was supposed to be this luxury lifestyle brand? It flopped. Nobody was buying it. The reviews were brutal. People were making fun of it online. The whole thing was kind of a mess. But even in failure, what was attached to the articles, the mentions, the coverage, the Duchess of Sussex branding, the Sussex name was all over it.
That you now have this whole issue with Andrew.
No more HRH, no more Duke and Duchess of Sussex, just...
News outlets weren't writing about Meghan Markle's failed jam company. They were writing about the Duchess of Sussex's latest venture. See the difference? That title was doing heavy lifting even when the product itself couldn't stand on its own. And that's the problem William's dealing with. When Meghan gets into some kind of controversy, and there's been plenty, that Duchess title comes along for the ride. Failed business ventures, public missteps, drama, questionable decisions, they all link back to the royal family. They reflect on the monarchy. They connect to Buckingham, whether the palace wants it to or not. People don't separate Meghan, the person, from Meghan, the Duchess. In their minds, she's representing the crown, even though she hasn't been a working royal in years. William's had enough of it. He's watching this play out in real time, seeing how her keeping that title just...
The whispers from Westminster have turned into an actual political storm. The UK Parliament, yes, the lawmakers themselves,
keeps creating issues for the family name. The headlines, the coverage, what people are saying. He's aware of all of it. And he's decided it needs to stop. From his perspective, if you're not doing the work, not representing the institution properly, actively causing damage to the monarchy's reputation, why should you keep the benefits? Why get to trade on that title when all it does is create more problems for everyone else? So, after 19 months of being apart, Harry finally made the trip back to London. A year and a half of not seeing his father face to face. And when he did show up, you know how long they spent together? 45 minutes. That's it. Not even a full hour. Think about that for a second. His dad's dealing with cancer, the man's going through treatments, his health is uncertain, nobody has clarity on what the future holds, and you fly all the way across the Atlantic.
In my view, the worst dinner party in history by being the guest of honor at a vegan woman-only banquet called a seat.
And you can only manage to sit down with him for 3/4 of an hour. It didn't sit right with a lot of people. The press picked up on it immediately, the public noticed. And you can bet the rest of the family noticed too, because here's what it appeared like from the outside. It seemed rushed, like Harry was checking a box, fulfilling some kind of obligation so he could say he tried, going through the motions without actually being present. People close to the situation are saying this wasn't about genuine reconciliation, not Harry coming home because he missed his father or wanted to repair their relationship. This was calculated. And here's why. Harry recognizes something that everybody else does too. William's door is closed, not just temporarily shut, it's locked, and there's no key that'll open it. That relationship, done. William's made his position clear. He's not interested in rebuilding bridges, and he's definitely not interested in pretending everything's fine when it's not.
Sources have just confirmed the unimaginable Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and even their children have been officially stripped of their royal...
So Harry realizes he's got no chance there. Zero. That path is completely blocked off. But Charles is different. He's a father first, even when he's wearing the crown. He has a soft spot for Harry, hope that maybe things can turn around. Maybe there's a way to bring his son back into the fold. And Harry understands this. He gets his father's weakness, understands Charles' struggles with the tough calls when it comes to his kids. So he's banking on it, counting on his father's softer heart, on parental instinct that makes you want to forgive your children even when they've hurt you. The timing of this visit is important too. Charles is facing a serious health challenge. Nobody has full information on how much time he has, how the treatments are really going, what the long-term prognosis looks like. The palace keeps things vague, as they always do.
It's had enough of royal drama, enough of Netflix confessions, tearful tell-alls, and California sunshine.
But everyone understands the gravity, and Harry's aware. He recognizes the clock is ticking. His window of opportunity with his father is potentially limited. Because when Charles is no longer king, and nobody wants to think about that, but it's a reality that has to be considered, who takes over? William. And when William's in charge, making all the decisions, calling the shots, there's no path back in for Harry. None. William's made it abundantly clear through his actions, through what palace insiders report, through how he's positioned himself. He's not interested in letting Harry waltz back into the family like nothing happened. So this visit, the 45-minute tea at Clarence House, it wasn't about spending quality time with his father, not about genuine connection or family bonding. People who understand the dynamic say Harry was making a strategic move.
Prince Harry's title quietly changed on royal family website, following major blunder. Exclusive.
Trying to get back in his father's good graces before it's too late, before William has complete control, before the door closes permanently and there's absolutely no opening it again. And the thing is, 45 minutes doesn't say, I came here because I care. More like, I came here because I have to, or I'm doing the bare minimum, or I need something from you and I'm trying to get it. The brevity of that meeting spoke volumes to everyone watching. If you really wanted to reconnect with your father facing cancer, wouldn't you clear your schedule, spend the day with him, make the most of the time you have? But Harry didn't do that. He showed up, had his tea, made his appearance, and that was it. Mission accomplished, or so he may have thought. But the message it sent was the exact opposite of what he likely intended. It came across as desperate, calculated, and hollow.
So long, HRH. The royal website has been updated with Harry and Meghan getting the boot to the bottom of the page. I've seen...
And worst of all, it may not have worked. Because even Charles, with all his fatherly love and desire for reconciliation, has to see what this really was. Now let's talk about William's vision for what the monarchy should look like going forward, because he's been pretty vocal about wanting to do things differently than how they've been done in the past. William wants change, serious transformation. He's talking about a streamlined operation, a modern approach to royalty, cutting out anything that's not serving the institution. No excess, no dead weight, nobody hanging around collecting benefits without putting in the work. He's looking at the monarchy as something that needs to be efficient, focused, and relevant to today's world. Not stuck in traditions just because that's how we've always done it. And here's where he differs from his father. Charles operates from a place of sentiment. He values family loyalty above almost everything else.
Ready to get legal with Prince William and the entire United Kingdom because Meghan thinks that she can fight this fight.
He's the type who believes in second chances, third chances, who wants to keep the family together when it's messy, when it's causing problems. He grew up in a different era where keeping up appearances and maintaining family unity was paramount. So when it comes to making tough decisions about his kids, about his brother, he hesitates. That emotional connection, parental instinct, it clouds his judgment sometimes. But William, he's coming at this from a completely different angle. He's not ruled by sentiment the way his father is. Don't get me wrong, he loves his family, he cares about his relationships. But regarding the institution itself, regarding protecting the crown and what it represents, he'll make the hard calls. Put the monarchy's reputation ahead of personal feelings. Say no to folks he grew up with. folks he's known his entire life, if they're becoming a liability. His philosophy is pretty straightforward.
Act powerful enough to strip titles and reset royal ranks in one sweep. It's being described in Westminster.
If you're not working for the crown, you shouldn't be benefiting from it. Simple as that. You can't step away from royal duties, move to another country, do your own thing, build your own brand, and still expect to cash in on the titles and the prestige that comes with being connected to the palace. In William's mind, that's having your cake and eating it too. And he's not okay with it. Those who know him well, those who've worked closely with him, say he's been planning this for a while now. The idea of removing titles from non-working royals who are creating problems, that's been on his mind. He's watched the current system play out, seen how folks can step back from their responsibilities, but still trade on their royal connections. Observe the damage to the monarchy's image, the public confusion about who actually represents the crown and who doesn't. And he's learning from what's happening around him.
The man who once fought to build a new life away from the crown suddenly seemed lost without it. He wasn't Prince Harry anymore, just Harry. And
he watched his father finally take action with Andrew and Sarah. Saw how long Charles waited, the amount of damage that accumulated before anything was done. He's taking notes on all of it, and what he's learned is that waiting makes things worse. Hoping people will change their behavior on their own rarely works. Giving chance after chance just prolongs the inevitable and makes the eventual action harder to take. William's preparing for when he takes the throne. He's not just thinking about now, his focus is on the next 50 years. What does the monarchy need to look like to survive? How does it stay relevant in a world that's constantly changing? How does it maintain respect and authority when there are folks actively undermining it from the outside, while still claiming connection to it? These are the questions he's grappling with. And from everything we're hearing, his answer involves cutting ties with anyone causing damage.
His Invictus mission, he told the crowd that he admired their culture and would happily live there. He also posed for...
Doesn't matter whether it's his brother, his uncle, distant cousins, hurting the institution, making the monarchy look bad. Using your title for personal gain while criticizing the very system that gave you that title means you're out. No exceptions, no special treatment, no hoping things will magically improve. This isn't about being cold or heartless, at least that's not William's perspective. From where he stands, it's about survival, ensuring the monarchy can continue for his children, for future generations. And should that require unpopular decisions now, should it mean being the bad guy in the short term, he'll do it. Because in his view, the alternative, letting things continue as they are, is far worse. So here's where things get really interesting. After everything that went down with Andrew and Sarah losing their titles,
now here's where things get messy. Because it's not just Harry and Meghan under Parliament's microscope anymore, it's their kids.
Watching Charles finally make that move, Harry and Meghan went into panic mode. And I mean serious panic. The kind where you suddenly realize the ground beneath you isn't as solid as you thought it was. They saw the writing on the wall. If Charles was willing to do that to his own brother, a person he's known his entire life, a person who's been part of the family forever, grew up with in the palace, what's stopping him from doing it to his son? And more importantly, what's to stop William from doing it the second he gets the chance? Because that's really what they're worried about. Not Charles, who still has that fatherly soft spot, that hope for reconciliation. William. They know William's just waiting, biding his time, watching everything unfold, taking mental notes of each controversy, each headline, each situation that reflects poorly on the palace.
Is enough. He has told friends he will strip Meghan Markle of the HRH title she keeps.
And he's building his case. Each misstep they make, each time they use those Sussex titles for something that doesn't work out. Each interview where they take another shot at the family, he's paying attention. Documenting in his mind their use of those titles, They're trading on royal connections while simultaneously criticizing everything the monarchy stands for. Observing, calculating, preparing for the moment when he has the authority to act. And when that moment comes, he won't hesitate the way his father does. And here's what's changed dramatically: public opinion. When Harry and Meghan first announced they were stepping back, a lot of people were on their side. There was genuine sympathy for their situation. They saw a young couple attempting to escape a difficult situation, protect their family, build a life on their own terms.
The royal family's website has officially been updated to include the titles of Harry and Meghan's children. For more information on the...
Harry was still the beloved prince who'd lost his mother too young. Meghan was portrayed as struggling to adjust to royal life, not getting the support she needed. There was sympathy. There was support. People were rooting for them to succeed, to prove they could make it work outside the constraints of palace life. But that goodwill, it's evaporated, completely dried up. People have grown exhausted by the constant drama, the never-ending stream of interviews and documentaries and tell-all moments. The public watched them leave with the promise of building independent lives, of making it on their own, of showing they could thrive without the royal machine behind them. Everyone was curious to see what would happen next. Major philanthropy, groundbreaking content, using their platform for genuinely meaningful change. And what happened?
Lost their 10th publicist in 5 years. Now, to be fair, 2 of them were apparently promoted to other roles.
Instead of focusing on building something new, something fresh, something that stood on its own merit, they made their entire brand about the palace. Projects launched circled back to their grievances with the royal family. Interviews revisited the same complaints. Media appearances became opportunities to rehash old wounds and air more dirty laundry. It became their identity, their selling point, the only thing they seemed interested in discussing. Netflix documentaries about their struggles with the institution. Podcast episodes discussing their difficulties as working royals. Books detailing private conversations and family conflicts. Magazine covers focusing on their departure and what led to it. Oprah specials diving into their mental health struggles within the palace walls. It was always the same story, just told through different mediums.
One began with a whisper, then spiraled into a full-blown transatlantic scandal. Multiple sources confirmed this week that Meghan...
And people started noticing the pattern. It became exhausting. The questions started flowing. When's the move forward happening? When's the conversation shifting? When's actual independence showing up instead of just talking about why they needed to become independent? Because true independence would mean building something separate from the thing you left. It would mean creating a new identity that doesn't constantly reference the old one. But that's not what was happening. And here's the most ironic part of all of this. While building this entire brand around criticizing the monarchy, talking about its toxicity, its damage to their mental health, its restrictive rules, needing to escape it for their own well-being, they're still clinging to those titles, still using Duke and Duchess of Sussex on everything, still trading on that royal connection, still leveraging the very institution they claim they wanted nothing to do with.
Buckingham Palace has declined to comment on these claims so far, but this, of course, is the answer to the question that everyone has been asking since.
Think about it. Business deals Meghan tries to secure, Duchess of Sussex is right there in the pitch. Events they attend, they're announced with their royal titles. Press releases, introductions, official communications. Those titles are front and center. They're not just keeping them for sentimental reasons. They're actively using them as their main currency in a world where, without those titles, they'd be significantly less interesting to a lot of people. People notice the contradiction, spending years talking about the royal family's problems, needing to get away, the freedom of leaving, life being better now, then refusing to drop the titles. Criticizing the system while simultaneously using your position in that system to open doors, to secure meetings, to land deals, it doesn't add up. And the public's not buying it anymore. They're seeing through it. The exhaustion is real.
Listen, Prince Harry could lose everything. He's not flying to London for tea and biscuits. He's on that jet in full-blown panic mode. And
comment sections, social media, public forums, you see it everywhere. People have grown weary of the victim narrative that never ends, weary of the complaints that keep coming, weary of watching two people who have more privilege and opportunity than most of the world, who have access to resources that regular folks can only dream about, acting like they're the most persecuted individuals on the planet. The sympathy's gone. The patience has run out. And now, instead of defending Harry and Meghan, instead of seeing them as victims of a cruel system, most people are siding with William. They're echoing what William's probably been thinking for years. If the institution isn't for you, if the connection isn't wanted, if representing it or following its rules isn't appealing, then give back what it gave you. Walk away completely. Drop the titles. Stop trading on the royal connection.
The royal rumor mill is buzzing after Meghan Markle sent a gift to a...
Build something that's actually yours. Having it both ways isn't an option, and Harry and Meghan can feel it. They're not oblivious to the shift, seeing it happen in real time. Their public support crumbling, people turning against them, the narrative changing from poor them, they've been through so much, to what are they complaining about now? The tide has completely turned, and they know it. And that's when the real panic set in. Because without public support, without people on their side defending them in comment sections and on social media, without that goodwill they once had, their position weakens dramatically. Their leverage disappears. Their ability to push back against the palace diminishes. And William's position, it strengthens considerably. Because now when he moves to strip those titles, the public won't see it as cruel or vindictive.
Business. It doesn't mean that you get kicked out of the family and you don't get to go to grandma's birthday anymore. What it does mean is that you don't collect a paycheck.
It'll look justified. It'll look necessary. They might even applaud him for it. So now Harry and Meghan are scrambling, figuring out how to stop this train that's already left the station, looking for ways to rebuild their image, to win back public favor, to shore up their position before William makes his move. But here's the problem. The cards have all been played. The stories have all been told. The grievances have all been aired. What's left? What can they possibly do at this point to change the trajectory? So here we are. Harry's racing against time, trying to save the one thing that keeps him and Meghan relevant in the circles they want to be in. That Duke and Duchess of Sussex title, it's not just a name, it's their ticket. What gets them through doors that would otherwise stay closed? What makes people return their calls, accept their meeting requests, consider their business proposals?
So, she's used the HRH title, Her Royal Highness, on a monogram note attached to a gift basket.
Think about what happens if that title disappears. The invitations to exclusive events, gone. The magazine covers, not happening. The deals that companies are willing to consider because they want that royal connection, they dry up overnight. Because without that title, who are they really? Harry's a former prince with a complicated family situation. Meghan's an actress whose biggest role was on a cable TV show that most people haven't watched. That's the reality they're facing. And it's not just prestige or glamour. Access is the real currency here. Being able to walk into a room and have people pay attention. Having leverage in negotiations, something valuable to offer. The Sussex brand only works because of its connection to royalty. Take away that connection and the whole thing collapses. All they've built, all they've tried to create, it falls apart without that royal link.
No secrets, there's no mystique.
It's just been, one huge story after another.
Everything that they had.
This is the only world Harry's ever known. He was born into it, raised in it, shaped by it. The palace, the protocols, the titles, the privilege, it's all he understands. Strip that away, and what's left? Who is he without the Duke in front of his name? just Harry, regular guy who used to be a prince. It's an identity crisis waiting to happen. A former prince who gave up everything, and for what? To end up exactly where William might be pushing him, completely outside the system, with nothing to show for it. And Meghan, look, she's proven she's got hustle. She knows how to work an angle, pivot when things aren't going her way. If the royal thing doesn't work out, if those titles get stripped and the doors start closing, she'll probably find something else. A new opportunity, a different path, some other way to stay in the public eye. The question is, does Harry come along for that ride? Or does she decide he's too much baggage without the title?
One of the better questions I heard last night was, why don't you give up your title of Duke and Duchess of Sussex? And this was the answer.
It's a harsh question, but it's one people are asking. William's not losing sleep over any of this. He's got his eye on the bigger picture, protecting the monarchy, ensuring its survival, making sure the institution his children will inherit is strong and respected. Should that mean cutting ties with his brother? Should it mean being the villain in Harry's story? So be it. He's made his peace with it. He's decided that preserving the institution matters more than rescuing a relationship that's already broken beyond repair. And the clock's ticking. Each passing day brings William closer to having full authority. Each passing day brings Charles closer to an uncertain health outcome, bringing the transition of power nearer. Harry sees this. Meghan sees it too. They can see the writing on the wall as clearly as everyone else can. The window for stopping this is closing fast. The desperate flight to London, the 45-minute meeting.
He will strip Meghan Markle of the HRH title she keeps using, defying and agreeing.
The attempts to get back in Charles's good graces. It's all part of a last-ditch effort to prevent the inevitable. But here's the thing. Inevitable tends to happen regardless of what you do to stop it. And right now, it's looking more and more like Harry and Meghan are fighting a battle they've already lost. So what happens next? Will Charles hold out, refusing to take action against his son? Will William wait patiently for his turn, or will he find a way to push things along faster? Can Harry and Meghan come up with some brilliant strategy to turn public opinion back in their favor? Or will they just watch as everything they've been clinging to gets pulled away? Nobody knows for sure. But one thing's certain, this story isn't over, not by a long shot. The tension's building, the stakes are getting higher, and sooner or later, something's gotta give. And when it does, the fallout's gonna be massive, because this isn't just family drama anymore. This is the future of the monarchy, the legacy William wants to build, and two people who are finding out whether they can survive without the one thing they've been depending on this whole time. That's the situation. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you want more on this, hit subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.